If you're thinking about moving to the Sarasota, Florida area, I want to make sure you don't make any of these 8 major mistakes that I often see people who are either looking to move to the area or who have already moved to the area make. These mistakes can cost you money, they can cost you valuable time, and they can even cost you your happiness once you're here. So let's go through these 8 big ones and how you can avoid them. And the last one, I never hear anybody talking about, so stick with me. My name's Nicole, and I'm a Sarasota Lakewood Ranch area realtor here in Florida, and I specialize in helping families just like you, either looking to relocate or retire to this Gulf Coast area. And after helping dozens of families make this big move, I've seen these mistakes over and over again, and I don't want for you to make those same mistakes. So let's go through these one by one. Right off the bat, mistake number 1 is focusing only on the house. Now, we have some beautiful homes here, and of course, your home is going to be where your abode, your safe place, and you're going to want to absolutely love it. But what a lot of people don't realize when they move here to the area is that you could actually find very similar homes or the exact same home in different parts of town. It comes down to finding that community, finding that neighborhood or that village where you are going to have all of your needs met. It's really more about where you're located, who your community and who your neighbors will be versus the actual physical home. Because we can find you that perfect home, but then it'll be not in a community you want. But we can find you the community that will check off all of your lifestyle boxes and be able to pick a home within that community that will make everything work out for you. It comes down to what your lifestyle preferences are. Be thinking about, what do you want your day to day, week to week, and month to month look like? How often do you want to be going out? How often will you need to be making appointments? How close do you need to be to where your appointments are going to be? And how active do you plan on being? Do you need to be where the amenities are right there in your community, or would you rather get in your car and go to the clubhouse or go to the aquatic center or anything like that? So those are the types of questions you need to be asking, not necessarily features of the home, because we can find that. It really is going to come down to finding that perfect community for you. All right, mistake number 2 is underestimating the cost of living and the house prices here. Now, this is relative, of course. If you are coming from the Northeast or even from the Illinois area, over and over again, I work with clients where the cost of living here or the home prices are significantly less, just between the local tax, the property tax, and also insurance, and the cost of the homes are significantly less. And then the general cost of living, utility costs are less as well for these people. But if you're coming from somewhere where maybe that's not the case, and you're coming from a lower cost of living, such as Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, those areas, Kentucky, then you might be a little bit surprised at how much home you get for the price, and also the cost of your utilities. Now, this segues for me right into mistake number 3, and that is ignoring the flood zones and the insurance costs. Now, we have different insurances here, and usually the 2 that surprise people the most when they move into the area are auto insurance and property insurance, how they're different and how much more they are. We are a no-fault state as far as auto insurance is concerned, which costs more to cover or to pay for your premiums than in a fault state situation. I do know that. Going into the specifics of flood insurance is mandated by FEMA. So you don't get to really shop around for that. Those flood insurance premiums are fixed, but your homeowners policy and your hurricane coverage are 2 different things. And people usually think it's all lumped into one. It is not. You can get different kinds of coverages for that. And now, granted, I'm not a coverage specialist. I can certainly refer you to some wonderful people who can advise you in that area. But in general, I just want you to know that you need to be aware of where you're buying, whether it's in a flood zone. And sometimes a property may actually be in 2 flood zones. Maybe the front part of the property is in a flood zone or not in a flood zone, and the backside is on a lake, and so you're in a flood zone in the backside, and that does affect everything. So it really comes down to working with someone who can help point you in the right direction. Do you want to avoid flood zones at all costs? And if so, then working with someone who's going to know that we're not going to be looking anywhere in a flood zone, and that your insurance costs, you need to have these things already figured out and budgeted before you're outside of your inspection period, because we don't want any surprises at the closing table. We don't want any surprises after you're already outside of your inspection period and you could potentially lose your deposit. No, we're going to figure these rates out. We're going to get quotes. We're going to get an idea. We don't always go based on what the previous owner has insured for, because a lot of times they're only insuring for what their mortgage is for, or they're only insuring what they feel comfortable risking. So it really has to come down to what you need, what you're looking for, and that's what we do during the inspection period when you find a home or community that you want to be. All right, mistake number 4 is moving without experiencing the different seasons. Now, if you can't do this, I get it. If you don't care and you just want to move to Florida, then by all means, pass this mistake. But a lot of times, August is our absolute hottest, most humid month. And I tell people a lot, look, if you can get through August, you're fine, you're in the clear. And then February is our coldest month. It's when we're going to experience our coldest snaps if we have them. So it's really important, if you get the opportunity, not just to visit during our peak times, which is our wonderful winter time, but also experience, if you're going to be living here year round, those hot months or those wet months or those cold months, because you still need to understand how that affects how often you're going to be able to go out, how wet it is. And that really, it makes the biggest difference with quality of life. So I encourage people to visit as often or as outside of our season as possible, because yes, it's so easy to fall in love with our area during season, but the moment August hits or February, people realize, wow, this is different. But it is just a short stint, and then we're right back to our wonderful weather that everybody loves about Florida. But that is mistake number 4, and that is not trying to experience the seasons ahead of time. Now, mistake number 5 is assuming that all of our beaches and all of those coastal areas are the same. They are not. And even just within 2 miles, our beaches can be very different. I'll never forget, I'll share a little story with you. Very soon after we moved here, my son, who is my youngest, was only a year, just over a year old, and was already running around, bebopping around. And we went to visit, of course, our famous beach, which is number 1, Siesta Key Beach. And it was beautiful, soft, beautiful sand and big space, lots of bathrooms. It was great. And then we went to go visit another area, which is more south of Siesta, and it was Venice Beach, or Turtle Beach to be specific. But that sand was absolutely different. It was much coarser. It was more like crushed up shells than the quartz fine sand. And after chasing my toddler around for an hour and a half or so, my feet were torn up. So I tell people a lot, our beaches aren't all the same. They have different amenities or facilities available. Some don't even have bathrooms. Some are just access points at parks. But at least you do have a lot of options in the area. And depending on how close you want to be to a beach or to a beach that you love more, then that will matter. And when you're picking your neighborhoods or your communities. But I just want to tell you that we don't all have, all the beaches are not the same. All the communities around the beaches are not the same, whether there's restaurants or bathrooms or anything nearby, all of those matter. So definitely ask, what are you looking for? Some people are looking more for privacy and quiet. Some people are looking more for, I want to be in the heart of it all. I want to have easy access. I want to have everything I'm going to need right there, a gas station. a restaurant, I want to eat right on the water. Those are all things that you can ask, and we as agents can help you figure that out where you want to live in the area. By the way, if you're finding this helpful, make sure and hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. I'm always making videos like this to help you as much as possible before making such a big move. And if you're really enjoying these, I'd appreciate you hitting that subscribe button and turning on your notifications so you don't miss another valuable video. Let's get back to it. Okay, mistake number 6 is overlooking the traffic and the commuting. So here's the thing, it may be only 6 miles down the road, but it'll take you 30 minutes to get there, depending on where it is and what it is. And I always want to encourage people, our traffic here is somewhat seasonal, although in the past 5 years, since 2020, it has definitely increased since we've had an influx in people moving to the area who are remote working. And an interesting thing about our traffic in the area is that not only is it somewhat seasonal, but we also have from our youngest drivers to a large demographic of older drivers. And some of these older drivers are also on medication. And I have found that you need to be extra vigilant when you're on the roads. One great thing though about our roads is they are constantly working on them to improve them, to widen them, to make them easier to access. And we always have more than one way to get somewhere. We're not just stuck to one highway. We have several east to west roads, several north to south that run parallel. So if one road is bogged up or if something's happened on one road, you can take another road. Now, there are a few locations, for instance, whenever you're crossing a body of water or whenever you're going over to one of our islands where we either only have a 2-lane or a 4-lane road, and that's where it can bottleneck. So you have to plan accordingly. Personally, I have found Google Maps to be my absolute best friend. Even though I know where I'm going, I will always put the address in Google Maps because I will look and see, oh, wait, no, I'm not going to go that way. There seems to be some red there or something going on there. I'm going to go this way instead. We do still have your typical high traffic times, morning commute times, afternoon times, but we also have a lot of car line for schools that if you're living right near a school zone, you'll want to take that into account during the school year. We do have those school zones where the speed limit is either 15 or 20. And they are strictly enforced, both with video surveillance where they'll just send you a digital ticket because they caught you with your tag speeding through the school zone. So it is highly enforced here, and it's just something you need to think about. I find when we moved out to the Lakewood Ranch area after living in Sarasota for 11, 12 years, we really had to shift our life. We switched our son's school, we switched our doctor's offices, we switched where we started going grocery shopping more because that commuting was affecting our quality of life. And we didn't want to spend as much time either on the road, in our cars. So knowing where your doctor's offices are going to be, knowing where everything is going to be, and in relation to how far you want to be traveling, that is super important and something to think about. Make sure you're testing out those routes, especially around the areas that you're considering. And one nice thing, if you're looking to relocate and are retiring, you can obviously avoid those peak hours. But if you're not, if you're going to be commuting, if you're going to be taking kids to school, if you're going to be out and about, then you want to make sure that you are experiencing that traffic in real time and not have any surprises, and if to see what your tolerance and if it's going to work for you or not, and how it's going to affect where you purchase a home. We do have a lot of people that commute into the big city centers like Tampa, and that obviously will affect where they buy their home, because if they need access to the interstate, if they don't want to commute as long, that will affect that as well. So I really encourage people to drive around and get a feel for what it's like in your day-to-day driving during the week and on weekends as well. Now, mistake number 7 that I see a lot of people make, and this is going to seem like a bit of a plug, but it's the truth, not working with a local real estate expert, either just picking any random person or whoever the listing agent is, or just not doing their due diligence to pick an agent who understands the relocation buyer, what those needs are of that person, and really take a holistic approach or a whole life approach to making the move. And of course, I specialize in this, so I understand what those needs are, what the questions are, what we're going to need to be looking at and looking for way ahead of time. And it's really important important that agent really understands the market and what your preferences and really listens to what your needs are and helps translate that, because sometimes even saying those things, you might not really understand what you're looking for, but in listening to what your needs are, we can help translate what that would mean here in this area as far as a community and a home for you. So finding that agent like myself who is really experienced with relocation, that is going to be a huge benefit to you. Okay, now let's talk about mistake number 8. And this is one that I never hear anybody really talking about, and that is avoiding HOAs. So often I'll get on a call with a new client or they're looking to move to the area and they are adamant. They're giving me a list of rundowns of reasons why they don't want to be in an HOA. They don't want to have the restrictions. They don't want to pay the fees, and on about how much they hate HOAs. But let me just explain something that is a little bit different about HOAs here in the area. In the free state of Florida, it can be the difference between enjoying the view outside of your back patio or staring at the neighbor's car park collection. We don't have really strict or specific general zoning laws. So unless you're willing to overlook yourself, anything and everything, an HOA is actually there to put those covenants in place that protect your property value. Now, I get it. If you don't want to be in a super strict community, or if you need to be able to park your boat or your jet ski or your toys or your RV, we can find communities where you're able to do that and they're just lightly deeded, or it's only a small restriction, so that it protects that property value, because you really can hear the way the zoning laws work out, and certain areas are better about it than others, but you can tell, absolutely tell. And it's funny because I'll be speaking to someone about no HOAs, I don't want HOAs, but then we'll drive around to some of these non-HOA areas and they'll right away we'll see, oh, okay, yeah, maybe I do want a lightly deeded area. We don't want the full amenities. I don't want to pay $900 a month. I don't need the pool. I don't need the spa. I don't need those things. And that's great. We can still find you a community where your property value is still protected and the restrictions are in place very minimally. I find this a lot when I look at properties up in the mountain areas, for instance, in North Carolina. You'll see where it's very light deed restrictions. Maybe you can't have a permanent RV there on your lot. You have to build a structure, or maybe you're not allowed farm animals. So those are the kinds of things that I think of when we want to look at a lighter deed restricted area. We're not looking for the big restrictions. We're just looking for a little bit to keep our property value in place. And that's why I'm a strong proponent of HOAs, depending on what level you wish, or what your tolerance level is, or what your needs are. I am very much all for HOAs, good run HOAs, and I highly encourage you to get involved with your HOA. You don't have to have a leadership position. You can just get involved, read the minutes, attend either online or in person if you're able. I really do think it's such a vital, important thing to being a part of your community. They get a lot of bad rap because a lot of times it's always the drama that makes the news. But there's a lot of beautiful, wonderful HOAs run in our area that make it an asset to your community and your equity. So don't immediately shun an HOA until you have personally experienced, or unless it absolutely just doesn't meet your needs, and that could be the case too. There you have it. Those were all the 8 mistakes, or the biggest ones that I see people most commonly making when they're looking to move from outside of the area or outside of the state. And I hope that now that we've run through it, you'll always keep those in the back of your mind and be able to make better questions, ask more questions that help you figure out where is the best place for you. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave those in the comments below. I love answering those questions for you all. And always, you can reach out. I always tell people it's never too soon. You cannot do it soon enough or often enough as far as getting the process started, and start talking to someone and working with someone in the area who can help you make that big move to the area. There's lots to consider, and we want it to be a smooth process for you. So of course, until that next video, I look forward to seeing you then. Y'all take care.